Was your game too loud for you?
All right, 99 point. Oh, no, that's actually perfect.
Yeah.
I gotta say, first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, we are now live on the radio. We have the one and only, we got Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. This individual has trained countless individuals, and I mean countless individuals, from Kevin Nash to Bill Goldberg, Stacy Keibler, Paul Wright, also known to the wrestling world as well if you're a WWE fan, The Big Show, Chuck Palumbo. I'm pretty sure I can name names and it will take up the entire interview. This individual also had the opportunity to venture all the way to Japan to wrestle for New Japan as well. So, Buddy Lee Parker, how are you doing this evening, I should say?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Just looking forward to doing this deal for you, and I'm honored to be on here with you.
And I gotta say, the feeling is definitely mutual. Honestly, like I told you before, we actually went live. Been a huge fan of the WCW since I was a wee one. I remember actually watching you on television. One of my favorite matches that I fondly remember as watching as a kid was actually when you actually went against Fit Finley back in the day. It was a short contest, but I always loved just the way you two actually presented yourselves in the ring. I always thought, as a kid, when I was younger, I always thought you guys were like brothers. You guys kind of looked relatively alike. Your wrestling styles are very tough, very brute.
Wrestling style was a lot alike. You know, we had matches that went a lot longer. You know, but yeah, I love wrestling Fit Finley, Dave Taylor, Steven Regal, all them guys, because you know only thing we got was our finish. So we went to the ring and called it in the ring the whole time. It's a lost art now.
And I got to take you back to the year 1989 because that's actually the year you actually debuted in World Championship Wrestling under your real name, Dwayne Bruce. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us how you originally got connected with the officials over at WCW, and of course, what was it like actually just working with that company during the very early stages? Because obviously this is way before the Monday Night Wars.
Right. It was. I was actually in NWA. You know, when I first started. So it was actually a few years before that. But yeah, you're not gonna believe this. Everybody talks about Ole Anderson, but Ole Anderson is the one that sent me to Jody Hamilton, which is Assassin, and Nick Patrick, who trained me. I wrestled for them a couple of years before I went to NWA. Learned a lot, man. A lot quick. My first match, I went 20 minutes through at little J&J Sports Center, but you couldn't tell how big it was because they had it all blacked out and stuff. But yeah, that's how I got started. Then I went to Jody's school, and then I was training 3 nights a week, doing construction job during the day and wrestling on weekends.
And when you actually said Nick Patrick a few moments ago, that just for the individuals that actually aren't quite familiar with the old school wrestling days, Nick Patrick, that is correct. That went on to be the WCW famous WCW referee, I should add,
Right.
as well.
And he also refereed in WWE too. So
Yeah, I remember that crazy match he actually had. When I say crazy, I thought it was very unique that he had with Earl Hebner. I believe it was at WWF Invasion 2001. It was Earl Hebner versus Nick Patrick. Everyone thought it was so bizarre to have that. Me, I was like, I love this because Earl Hebner, he doesn't take no shit. Excuse my language. He doesn't.
Well,
so
I don't know if people know, but Nick used to wrestle. He wrestled for Bill Watts down in his territory until he blew his knee out, and then he just couldn't wrestle anymore. He refereed. He could wrestle, but one time we had people down at the original power plant, which is where I trained Kevin Nash and Elegante, believe it or not, and stuff. And we wrestled for 20 minutes and never hit the ropes. So, yeah, it was all chain wrestling.
And also as well, before you go back to the WCW, in 1991, you also had the opportunity to win the WWC Caribbean Tag Team Championship titles and the tournament in the year 1991 alongside Lieutenant James Earl Wright. I was wondering, for the individuals that actually don't know about State Patrol, I was wondering if you can tell us a bit more about not only the championship win, but of course, just working alongside him.
Well, down in Puerto Rico, everything's outside, so except for maybe TV, and that would be rare if it was inside. Yeah, we started out here. We actually went up for Stu Hart. He wanted a Southern Redneck team, so my mom was a patrolman, so she was able to get us the state patrol badges and all that. It was real, you know. We bought it. You couldn't do it now, but we bought it. Went up, wrestled for Stu. Bruce Hart brung us up, and we're going to wrestle for this much American. Bruce Hart got his jaw broke on Davy Boy on the road. He wasn't there, and Stu goes, "Well, when you pay this Canadian," it was like, "Damn, we're gonna be broke in about 3 weeks." So we wrestled 2 matches, won the titles, gave it back to him, and drove back to Montana before we called him, and then we drove back to Atlanta. So we drove to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, wrestled 2 matches, and drove back in a week. So yeah, we paid our dues, but that's where the State Patrol was born at. And
And
we wrestled for WCW. We went to Puerto Rico, won the belts down there, and Dale went a few more times. I didn't go because I was busy at the power, eventually at the power plant, and still was wrestling. So but then he came back, and then we wrestled the State Patrol for many years, a lot of good years. So I think it could push that State Patrol. In fact, when they only fired a small SWAT team, he put us on with Steiners every night for 3 weeks. And how do we get our heat? With the nightsticks behind the referee back. So yeah, so I've learned a lot, during the fast years, and I was fortunate to be with the right people at the right time that that was able to let me learn my craft, let me earn my craft, and eventually started teaching people their craft.
you guys actually had some of your best matches actually against the Steiners, man. Like, and also the Steiners is another very tough, bruteful team, man. Like, they were absolute beasts even back in the early days of their careers as well.
Oh yeah, we wrestled them all over, man. In fact, there's a lot of teams we wrestled that people don't know. Probably, I don't know if there's a house show or whatever, they probably wouldn't know back then because the internet wasn't like it is now. So, um, they probably don't know that all the people we actually wrestled. Brad Armstrong and Tim Horner was great people. We love wrestling them. They're both great uh, wrestlers and great people. Uh, I wrestled Bob many times. I wrestled all the Armstrong guys, at one time. And so, yeah. Yeah, I also made 4 video games with EA Sports in Vancouver, Canada. I don't know if you know about that, but
I remember, yeah, I remember actually. I remember back in the day seeing you were actually a part of the credits for the WCW Mayhem game. I played the heck out of that as a kid, so I
yeah,
played
my
it so
kid
many
did
times
too.
I actually could be able to read. Yeah, I
My
still
son
have it
did
laying
too.
around somewhere.
He put me against Bill Goldberg and said, "Dad, take that. Dad, take that." I come down, just come out off the road, and I drug my bag down there, and I heard that. We always had a playroom for our kids. So he was on the video game. He was Bill, and I was me. He put the second controller down, and he's just beating the crap out of me. So but I'll tell you a funny story. One time, it was on Nitro. Uh, they showed the giant choke slamming Bill, and they went off the air. And I had to get Bill to call my son and tell him he was okay. But that was cool. And then at Canuck Place and EA in Vancouver, we went there, and there was people with cancer and different other things, and there was there was a kid up there that struck my heart, man. And I took everything I had of Bill Goldberg up there that trip, and then I called Bill and got him to talk to the kid. The next time I went, he had passed away. So that was it's good in my heart to make something happen like that.
And I have to ask, since we're on the topic of the video game, what all actually went into you actually creating that video game? Because I do know that you actually had the opportunity to put on. I don't know exactly what they call them, but obviously like the wrestling suit
Mocap
with the
suit.
little
It's a mocap
yeah, the
suit.
mocaps, yeah.
Yes, I mean, well, I made it guys out of school. Believe it or not, they didn't send me anybody uh, to the end. I had to fight to get the people I wanted, Mike Sanders and Elliot Skipper, and guys like that. I made video games with them, and I actually took. See, people don't realize EA is why they're number one is that they okay. I'm I'm wrestling you. Okay, I cover up so many markers in wrestling they can't see you, so they strip all the markers off of you. I have to give you a take and a B take, action and a reaction to one move, not counting that you got to give it to me back when they strip the markers off of me. So there, 4 times we did one move if it went great. So yeah, and we did everything there is in wrestling. Uh, everybody's moves. So but yeah, I was beat up. First time they sent us up there, we was in a hockey ring. I was like, this ain't gonna work, man. These guys are gonna get cold. I'm gonna get cold. I'm gonna get hurt. They're gonna get hurt. Next time we went up was in the EA's uh, main headquarters. So, and the launching of the video game, they sent me Bill and Bam Bam Bigelow and Conan. I don't know why Conan, but anyway, never been a big fan of his. But anyway, uh, so Bischoff called me, hey, Bill and Bam Bam's in the next pay per view. They can't get hurt. So, you know what that made me? The bouncing ball. So, actually, uh, actually got thrown out table, went through the table with Bam Bam, went up, got hit over the head with a monitor by Conan. Actually, didn't hit me with a monitor, he hit me with a keyboard, which he's supposed to hit me with a monitor, but he didn't. So, and then me and me and Bam Bam come up together, and I pushed him out of the way, and I got speared through 2 walls, real wall and the fake wall. So, it was cool. I got
Jesus.
many pictures of that. So
And also, as well, as we already know, you are most known as well for being the head trainer at WCW's developmental school titled Power Plant. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us the story behind that opportunity, and of course, what actually made you decide. How did you actually become the head trainer of that developmental wrestling school originally?
well, I was trained by Jody and Nick down where I trained Kevin Nash, and then the second power plant I trained Dallas Page, and then the other 2 power plants I trained everybody else. So anyway, I don't know, man. I just got the ball and I ran with it. Nobody actually appointed me the head trainer or anything, but I was able to get to everybody that I was training some way, somehow, whether it was yelling or talking different or talking whatever. I was able to relate to each individual that came through there. So that's why we had so many people that went through, and then made big money in the sport, But uh, yeah. Uh, I'll run some names by you. Tank Abbott, Brian Anderson, which is Ole's son, Johnny Attitude, Buff Bagwell, Luther Biggs, Sharp Boy, Skip Boy, Chad Brock was a country music singer. Brian Clark, which is my best friend. He wrestled as Wrath and Chronic here in WCW. Um, Crowbar, Scott Demore. I'm trying to pick people that you know. David Flair, Chad Fortune, The Gambler, Gangrel, Glacier, Goldberg, uh, Van Hammer. Uh, I'm skipping over names now. Sean Hims, uh, Mark Jindrak, Chris Canyon, Kenny Chaos. Uh, gosh, I keep on going. Mastro or whatever his name was. I don't care. Steve McDaniel, uh, Marcus Merrill, which is Johnny B. Bad, Kevin Nash, Jamie Knoll, Sean O'Hara, Dallas Page, Chuck Colombo, Craig Pittman, Robbie Rage, William Regal, which he helped me with Triple H, when he was down there. Mike Sanders, They said Sandman. That's not true. Bob Sapp, Big Show, Sonny Shockey, Sean Stasiak, Jim Steele, AJ Styles. I don't know about that one. Del Toberg, Jerry Toot, Ice Train. I trained him too. Reggie White, uh, Alex Wright, Jimmy Yang. I keep on going, but then it hits all the women. So you know. But anyway, that's
And I do know as well. Speaking of the training, I do know you mentioned David Flair, which I got to say, rest in peace to him. Honestly, such an amazing talent. I know. Obviously, when he was in WCW, he had such a big name to live up to, with his father being Rick. But in my opinion, such an amazing wrestler.
He was not ready for that role. I'll be honest with you. He wasn't ready. Um, uh, I'm gonna just say, when I wrestled him on Nitro, I worked out with him for an hour and a half in the ring. Very short match, but he still stumbled and whatever. That's not his fault. That was his dad's fault. That was Rick's fault, putting him in that position too quick. Yeah.
But I would definitely say with a lot more training, he would have turned. He would have been a.
Charlotte's extremely talented. I have a lot of respect for her.
I definitely agree. Charlotte is a phenomenal talent as well. If I'm not mistaken, I believe she's actually wrestling tonight at Survivor Series as well.
Oh yeah, I think so. I'm not buying a pay-per-view from anybody, so I'll see it online.
I definitely agree. I will admit, I tend to watch the. I just look at the dirt sheets sometimes. I mean, it has to be a really good match for me to even invest in my honest opinion.
Yes, I agree with that. And back in the day, man, we used to tell a story in the ring. Yeah, I'm a heel guy, but I can wrestle and show you to out wrestle me. You know, and eventually it gives me a reason to what? Cheat behind the referee's back. Then when we set heat, we keep the like Rock and Roll Express, we keep Ricky Morton live, keep going, cut him off, and then eventually make the hot tag to Ricky Gibson. It's a lost art now. It's too many writers, but I think it's got better since Triple H is handling it. But that's just because I love Triple H and I respect him so much.
And obviously as well, like you mentioned, you trained the legendary Bill Goldberg. I was wondering, from what you can remember, can you tell us a bit more about the earlier training sessions you had with Goldberg? And of course, what was it like just actually having him as a student? Because I've heard many stories that you had such an extensive training regimen that a lot of individuals would throw up. So I have to ask, did Bill Goldberg successfully complete it, or did he throw up like everyone else?
Yes, he successfully completed it. I think after being at Georgia and all that, he was determined nothing was going to happen bad to him. But what actually made him different was his MAA background. So I come up with a jackhammer. He come up with a spear. We toss things around in the ring, and then eventually we had to start training when nobody was there, because everybody, oh, Bill Goldberg, they're losing their mind, So anyway, Bill was an awesome student. He's an awesome talent. He still loves the business. I know some people say he don't, but he does. I mean, he loved the business from the get-go. So, and fortunately, he was at the right place at the right time and got the right training at the right time. And I wrestled probably, 30 dark matches before he was ever on TV. Down at Disney and before Nitros and before Thunders, and then when the people were reacting to him in dark matches, it made Eric Bischoff and them stand up. Oh shit, because we don't usually get this kind of reaction. But yeah, that's what made Bill special. So,
And he was such a force to be reckoned with, even on his debut in WCW. I remember being young, seeing him come out for the first time, how he had the escort, the music, right? And I was like, yeah. And I was just like, my God, like, this is... Right then and there, you knew when you first seen Bill Goldberg, this is a history-making, like, debut. Like, this is not going to be a one and done.
He had the look from the get-go, And when
Oh yeah, he
Bill,
did. Even the
right
physique
before
and
he come
everything.
down, he shaved his head, and Dallas was saying that was a mistake. That was a mistake. That's Stone Cold. But it turned out to be the right thing to do. And I love Stone Cold
And
too.
you
He used to live right down the road from me. We went fishing and all kinds of stuff together. So yeah,
And speaking of Goldberg as well, because I do know, obviously, back in the Monday Night Wars, you knew you were doing something right with an individual or company when you had the other company kind of making a joke of it. Because I remember, I think in '99 or 2000, they came out with Gilberg when they made fun of Goldberg. So that's how you know you have somewhat something that is
you have
hurting the
something
other brand.
when they started mocking it and um, come out with the actual person that did it and all that stuff. You know, you got something right. You know, uh, it's a bad taste, I think, but it is what it is. So.
And also, as well, towards the very end of World Championship Wrestling, you were also involved in a major match with where you actually teamed with former trainee Goldberg to face Lex Luger and, of course, Buff Bagwell as well. I was wondering what you actually can recall from that match. What was it like just being able to be on national television, working alongside an individual that you realistically actually trained from the get-go and got to see him just level up throughout the company right up until the end of course, unfortunately, WCW?
Obviously that was great. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody from the office or Bill or Lex or Buff told me anything. Nothing. So I was ad living it on. When we tagged together and all that stuff was at living it. And I remember, man, I have had like 12 concussions, so I get migraines really easy. So I remember being at the gym. I set up the ring that night. I went and worked out at the gym for a couple hours. Came back and Bill says, "You beat me tonight." I went, "What? I don't want to beat you." And there's nobody explained to me. You know what that would have done to my career, but it's water underneath the bridge. It's over with. And yes, I was blessed to be in that position.
And also, as well, you actually had the opportunity to train Batista in one of the DVDs, WWE produced DVDs. He actually talked about how he went for an open tryout at the WCW Power Plant, and I believe the DVD was called Batista Unleashed, which was a 3-disc set. He actually talked about the tough and grueling training that actually he endured there. Do you actually remember training a then young David Michael Batista? And if so, can you actually tell us a bit more about that tryout and what was it like just
Okay,
training him
that was a
during that
trial
very short time?
everybody went through, not just Dave. I didn't make it up for Dave. I didn't make it like he thinks I did. He thinks I just made it up for him, but that's not true. Everybody went through that. Uh, and everybody that got sick or whatever, I made pull their shirt off and say, "Sir, I'm a dying cockroach," and put their shirt back on. Man, that was to drive people to get mad at me to make them go further. So at that time, WCW didn't have a farm system, so I think I did Dave a justice by, he don't think that, but look at him now. He's a movie star. He's this, that, and the other. I think he was making $100 a night when he come down to me as a bouncer. So I look at it as a positive. I mean, he could say whatever he wants about me. I don't give a shit. But um, I will argue with you online though. But but I think it was a positive for him and a positive for the business. Don't you think?
Oh yeah. And I remember as well, and I do definitely agree with what you said because I've seen actual video footage. It's on YouTube even to this day. Of I believe it was a reporter that was talking crap about Power Plant or you guys, and you made him actually go through the training regimen that everyone else did. And remember him puking, and you made him take off his shirt and say I'm a dying cockroach."
Yeah, made him put it back on. Because he's a broadcaster from UK, don't mean he can talk shit to me, And what you don't know about that part of it is that I was down in Florida, and he come up to me trying to expose the business and whatever, and I was like, dude, you need to get away from me. I'm doing the ring. And he goes, "Well, I'm coming to the WCW power plant." I said, "Oh, really? You are? So I'll meet you there." So he set up his own failure to start with. Uh, but, look what he showed that was supposed to be real wrestling, barbed wire matches and all that shit from indies. And all that crap. That ain't real wrestling, you know. Uh, we were doing things on a much bigger scale, So there you go. But I've had,
He
I've been
definitely
on
learned
Good
what real
Morning
wrestling
America.
was.
I've been on Good Morning America, A&E, Life Magazine, stuff, Maxim, all the way down to the best to the worst. So,
And I guarantee you that interviewer, after he left that day, he had a different thought about professional wrestling. Because
oh yeah,
I will
oh
say he
yeah.
definitely learned. He definitely learned his lesson. And he, let's just say, like the old saying goes, Sarge, if you f around, you will find out. And Sarge made him find out that day.
Well, and a lot of people don't know how much I put my body through because I did lead by example. I lead by example. I did all the squats with them. I did all the push-ups. I did everything with them. So they can't say nothing to me. Oh, I didn't make it because you did all the squats with us. So I put my body through heck. I paid for the squats did then. I paid for the jumping off the top rope to the floor. I paid for all that. And like in Japan, my partner wasn't able to do anything off the top rope, so I did all the stuff off the top rope and stuff like that, because you have to adapt your style to their style in Japan. So, which their style is much more fast. It's much more physical. Not much more physical, but it was then. Because I wrestled Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy, Dr. Jeff, Steve Williams. I mean, the who's who of wrestling. Uh, uh, and their version of Sting and all over. So, yeah, I put my body through a lot, and I'm paying for it now. Have to wear knee braces all the time now. Um, but I'm getting some new hopefully coming up. So hold me over till I get my knees replaced.
And when you
Hello?
actually, because obviously, like you mentioned, you wrestled almost anybody you can think of. Who was the most toughest person that you actually shared the ring with? Like one of the most stiffest, I should say.
That'd be Fit Finley and Steve Regal. Uh, but I loved it at the same point because I was that way too. They knew what they're anybody because I tell you what, we were sitting back and the people looking at the monitor and looking at who's wrestling who. I guarantee you, I sold out more seats to that monitor than anybody in WCW. They want to see what was happening in my match, uh, because I believe in the business. I believe in protecting the business. There's a difference between being stiff and hurting somebody. That's a big difference there. And people don't realize that. Well, they may now realize that, but it ain't all about the blood and all that. I know it's a lot of blood got everywhere, so I ain't. I've done it myself, so I can't even preach on that. But yeah, I've been in about every bit kind of situation. I one time was up making a video game, 3 weeks. I flew this was before 9/11. Okay, I flew into Atlanta. Me and my wife swapped bags at the Atlanta airport. I got on a flight to Hamburg, Germany, because I had to check out all the rings because Flair and Hogan were sold out everywhere. So the guy didn't meet me at the airport. I said, "Drive me to this thing." They took me to a German hotel, which is cool. The architecture was great. Then we drove to Hamburg, Germany, and the ring is set out in damn snow. I'm like, "What the hell?" And then I took a pond jump over to London. The guy got booted in his Range Rover, and so we rode in taxi, passing the palace and all that stuff. I got to see it through the windshield, and then I said, "Man, I'm going home." And if I didn't leave my bag at the airport, I would have flew home that same day. But I left my bag there, so I had to, my regular clothes I left there, so I had to go back to the hotel and get them. So I stayed over, got beer and sandwiches delivered in my room. Oh, steak probably, but delivered in my room, and I got up next morning and flew into Atlanta. So yeah, I've done a lot of many things that people really don't know that I did. I was actually at the end of it, sending people to the ring and stuff. So I built rings, set them up, tore them down, uh, come up with the nitro, flames coming through the post, uh, with Nick, and I did every aspect of wrestling that you could possibly do. I'm very proud of it. People are texting me
And one of
right
the
now.
last
People are texting me right now. Funny. Okay, go ahead.
And well, I'm sorry. When you were actually one of the last WCW questions I actually have, because obviously you were there right to the very end of the company when Vince and Kennedy McMahon bought WCW and ECW at the same time. What was it like the atmosphere backstage? Did you actually know that
I didn't go.
WWE actually bought them out? Like
I
how did
didn't
you as a
go.
roster find out?
I didn't go. I didn't go to Panama City. Uh, I'm gonna tell you a little secret here, and I'm not gonna repeat it ever again. I was contacted by them, and they they wanted to do a version of the power plant, but they wanted to do it in Stafford, Connecticut. Dude, I'm not moving my family up there on a word of Vince. Even if you got a contract, you just tie you up in damn legal system until you broke. You know, um, fortunately, a lot of my friends like Steve Austin, them, they never had to do that. Uh, but I wasn't moving my family for that, man, because I'd have to have a hell of a contract and guarantee, and it's you could do the same thing here as what they're doing in Orlando. I mean, really, you could have done the same thing. Just bought the damn warehouse where it was at. They had 4 rings. I tried to get them many days to take down because I put rings on a roller one time because of the video game. So we roll it into infrared cameras and roll them out. I tried to get them many times to let me put the other rings on rollers and roll them out into the loading area. So we set up chairs. Give me Brad Armstrong. Give me Tim Horner. Give me a good heel. Give me this, and I run the power plant. Every week, uh, and then run background stories like could have been Batista. I don't know. Could have been anybody. And then what would happen? You start seeing a guy build up, right? So they make a Monday night's main event. I mean Saturday night main event. They lose, they win. People act like it's Super Bowl. Clear the dressing room. Same thing. Keep doing the same thing. But you're riding in the car with them. You're seeing what they go through, what they eat, what they work out at the gym, what they were doing. So time they would ever made it to Nitro, you already built a star. You know, everybody's watched you come up from the beginning to the end. I mean, to where he's made it to the end, right? So
Yeah.
all I asked him to do was give me one of them studios out of the Disney Studios or Universal, and let me run the power plant. And that could have been a great story. Now, in fact, before the before the NFL put the camera on the zip line, I had a I tried to talk them into putting it on the truss. So you see a tackle drop down, leapfrog. You see it from the air, which they're doing at AEW, and I'm probably doing it at WC. I mean WWF. I don't know, but I was actually thought of that long before it happened. But uh, then Paul Orndorff took over from Jody, and then I was put over there by Eric. And I had a lot of heat with Jody to begin with, but we got over it. Me and Nick and him got over it because I put all the weights together at the power plant. I did everything. So
And
next,
if I'm not mistaken as well, and I believe in the early 2000s, '03, you actually created your own wrestling school called Super Power Plant in Jasper, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, I sure did. And I'll tell you, this was my idea, but people are, I don't know, they say that's my territory. But if you ain't running shows, it's not your territory, man. I try to get like Brad Armstrong and Bullet, the book shows down in there near Dothan and around their territory and get other people to book around their territory. I give them a portion of the cut, plus they wrestle and get paid on my show. And I try to make a territory around Atlanta. But man, too many people were worried about their own stuff. They didn't have nothing to worry about. because they were going to be included in the. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the pilot. It was great. I used Rick Steiner, Scott Norton, Dave Taylor, Larry Zabisco did my color, Scott Hudson did my color. It was a great show. Uh, but too many people worried about their own little selfish things, and you don't get to see the big picture, and that's what I try to get people to see. And it just wasn't in the. I ran it for 2 years and I closed it down. I was driving all the way from Douglasville, Georgia, to Jasper every day, training guys and training women and setting up ring, going, giving finishes at show, wrestling myself twice. I was doing everything. We had lights, lasers, fog. In fact, the fog came from Steamboat's dragon deal. So yeah, I always made friends with the people, the cameramen, the production people, and everything because they'll save you. I had them one time stick over with me at Disney. They had a guy that stayed there. I'm not going to mention his name. He's not worth it. But he didn't stay. So all the cameramen and the production people missed their flight to help me set up, load the ring to go to the pay-per-view in Biloxi, Mississippi. That's saying something, man. Uh, I don't know how many people has ever done that or been in that situation, really. But I was in that situation. I need help, but they helped me because that's an 18-foot ring, man, and them a 2x6 on the outside, 2x4 runners across there with 2x8 uh, uh, planks that run across with a wrestling ring mat on top and the canvas on top of that. And then I started fusing when we got to the big show and all that stuff. I started fusing the ropes together and make sure they have an extra rope, extra stringer on the ring truck, and you know. So there's a lot I did that people don't know about, but that's okay. Maybe they know about it now.
And when you mentioned a few moments ago about the superpower plant, how a lot of individuals weren't really supportive and whatnot, that's the one thing I never understood about wrestling. I know it's a very cutthroat business, obviously I get that, but the one thing I don't understand is just how like a new company emerges. If you don't have to like it, obviously, but don't hate on it. I mean, it's more wrestling for fans to enjoy. Kind of like, for instance, AEW and WWE
Right,
situation. People hate on
right.
AEW, but it's a different product, but it's also more wrestling for us fans to really absorb
Yes,
and
and
enjoy.
I love having AEW. Now, I might Tony Khan, please don't. Whatever, I love you too, but some of it I don't agree with. But that's okay. That's people's opinions. I think I could help them. They did offer me one time, but I was in the hospital, so I wasn't able to participate. So anyway, I got over that, and I'm friends with Ernest Miller. I trained Ernest. He's friends with Tony Khan. Uh, they've mentioned my name a few times and on driving around and all that stuff. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
If you don't mind me asking, because obviously I don't know if you're allowed to actually speak of any details, but what exactly do they have in mind for Sarge when they actually called you up to be a part of all elite wrestling?
Well, they wanted me to run the training center. They wanted me to run the training center, and I knew I couldn't do what I did in the past. I would have to upgrade everything, and I understood that. Unfortunately, Sonny Ono called me when I was in the hospital. He's the first one that called me. Believe it or not, Sonny Ono is a great guy. He managed Ernest. Ernest trained in the power plant. I got utmost respect for all them guys. Eric Bischoff, I have respect for him. I actually saw him at a independent show not long ago, and we talked and stuff. But I don't think Eric realized we was on Good Morning America, was on A&E, was on Life Magazine, different stuff because he mentioned stuff later that happened later. When we were at the power plant uh, with oh God, I lost his name. I'm sorry. That happens to me. Uh, Gosh, I'm a bull. Uh,
Oh, the Rock,
no, not the
the
Rock.
Brahma Bull, the Rock.
Actually, the Brahma Bull is called by somebody else. Uh, Gosh, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Paul Orndorff.
I do know there's a, yeah, Paul Orndorff, yeah.
Uh, yeah. Paul Orndorff, he was great. He had his own style. Uh, you know, uh, Me and him got in a couple arguments. You know, uh, about the women. I think they need to learn the basics before they learn a drop kick, right? Uh, all them women had boobs, man. They gonna bust a boob. So I hate to say that on this program, but I did. So anyway, yeah.
And also as well, in 2021, I actually read that you returned to the newly revived Georgia Championship Wrestling, where you were actually serving as a ringside authority figure. I was wondering what actually made you decide to come out of retirement and actually work with GCW? Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe you actually officially hung up the boots in 2011.
Hold on a minute. Let me think, okay? Because I did a lot of benefit shows after that for people that had cancer, where I didn't charge. I didn't do, I got people donate, pizza and different people, organizations donate food to the concession stand so they can raise money. Uh, I think my last match was Mike Sanders, believe it or not, uh, somewhere in a church, somewhere up here in Douglasville. But I wrestled for many years after that, just trying to raise money for people that was unfortunate than me. So um, yeah. So I tried to put back in the business as much as I got back from the business. So I hope people understand that and understand that, yeah, I was different. I was, but I was able to, I was able to pull up something out of people that some people couldn't get out of people. So, I didn't have a farm system. I wanted a farm system, you know, uh, where I went to different areas and I called the shots with people from WCW, because if you don't wrestle people better than you get worse. Believe it or not, if they're worse than you get worse. So there's a couple of places where they sent people I didn't agree with. I didn't go because hell, they wasn't going to pay me. So they got to pay me. I'm the leader of the group. So anyway, that was my position back then. So it might be a little different now, but I enjoyed the business, man. I mean, I enjoyed every aspect, and when we were down at Universal Studios during the Olympics, me and my wife and kids were down there 6 weeks, at the Residence Inn. We girled out, and my wife and kid got to go to right in front of the line at Universal or Disney, wherever we were at. Uh, you know, in front of the line to ride rides. And at one point, she was pregnant with my second son, so maybe she didn't ride so much then. I don't think so. So anyway,
She might not have even known as well, because actually, funny thing, my mother-in-law, when she was actually pregnant for my wife, she actually went on a roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland. She didn't even know she was pregnant until afterwards. So
well,
I'm
I'm gonna
married
tell
today,
you.
so obviously my wife was born healthy.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Me and my wife didn't know we were pregnant when we had Steven. He was, gosh, I mean, I really. She said she was had her back hurting and stuff. So I sent her to the doctor, and the guy goes, I hate to tell you, you're 6 months pregnant. And 3 hours later, I was a dad. So, yeah, shock at that, right? But yeah, all my kids up and coming uh, from Steven to Adam and Christopher got to experience. And before I retired, Christopher got to see me live, and he'd never seen me live before. So that's cool. you know. Something they remember. I got all my gimmicks hanging up in the closet, the leprechaun, the state patrol, jack boot, everything that I tried to do. And actually, leprechaun was Jimmy Hart's and Kevin Sullivan's idea. So till they sent that stupid letter from the leprechaun people, which I cannot believe they sent, they truly did. I had to stop doing it. And then when the Jack Boot Waco happened, so I stopped doing that. I always had some kind of something happened to me all the time. It just seemed like, but I had a good career. I was able to train a lot of people. I'm really happy with. And did the Big Show get back in the ring with AEW just recently?
He did actually. He did a I forget the name of the video game, but he did a video game themed match to help promote the video game.
Oh,
Unfortunately, he didn't last very long in the match. They well, obviously,
well,
like storyline wise, they took him out in the match, but it was good to actually see him back in the ring. I can tell that it is very close to the end of his career. Unfortunately, makes me sad because I grew up watching him, got to watch him throughout the years as a kid
I
to a
wrestled
teenager
Andre
to an
the Giant
adult.
in Japan. I wrestled Andre the Giant in Japan. Japan, shit. So, and then he was all crippled over and stuff. So I thought he was gonna kill me, but he never did. So you know, uh,
I heard some crazy stories about Andre. I heard Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase at a comedy show actually tell a story about Andre, how he farted in a in an elevator and it almost killed him and a Japanese couple.
I believe that, but I don't put much stock in what Million Dollar Man says. Ted DiBiase. He was the original one who was up there in uh, EA, and they saw they weren't going to get much, as far as in the ring and that's true because and he was at that age. He was there to supervise, but I ended up working on video games, supervising, directing, everything. So it's cool for me. But I don't know grief against him or anything else because I've wrestled him. And before he was $1 million Man, I've wrestled him. And I wrestled Sting and Lex and Buff and everybody in the business. So I'm really fortunate to have the career that I had. I dare anybody say they had any kind of career that I had. I don't think they could touch it, but maybe they can. And if you want to prove me wrong, please do it.
I gotta agree with that, Search. They not only did you have a phenomenal in ring career, you also had a phenomenal career of training individuals. Like the list is so extensive. I know you only read off like not even 50%, maybe 30% of that list. So
No,
those names right there just prove how extensive. Because not only did you wrestle in the ring, you also contributed to other generational talent that went on to not
and
only become like literally legendary wrestlers, but also actors and other things in the entertainment industry as well. So you contributed to a lot of careers. Without you, we wouldn't have had Goldberg first and
well, I
foremost. I
had
mean,
a guy
Goldberg.
ask me this question on the last podcast I did. He goes, Sarge, what would wrestling be like without you in it? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. So,
It would
uh,
suck.
I don't know. We wouldn't have some stars. I know that, but eventually Bill would have made it. I think, but uh, I was fortunate to be in the ring with him from the get go. So I know people don't know. I had Ron Reese was 7'2". I had the Big Show, which is 7'2", 7'3", and Bill Goldberg at the same time while I was jumping the four rings every day. So yeah, yeah, I took a lot of bumps because people were scared of Bill. That's shit. You know, like Bret Hart blames me for him getting concussion syndrome. Do you know about that?
I heard about that, yeah, because I think it was like went on from Goldberg, and then in a extensive interview we talked about, oh well, if it wasn't for Sarge training Goldberg, Goldberg wouldn't have kicked me, and it's like, oh my goodness. I mean,
Well,
I love
you're
Brett. Don't
from
get
the
me wrong,
Bret.
I'm
I
Canadian,
mean, you're
but
from Stu Hart's deal, right? You don't. This guy is
yeah,
290 pounds, right? He's getting a bigger push than over Hulk Hogan ever did, I think. And you don't know to get your hand up when he goes to kick you. That's your fault. Shit, hell with him. Anyway.
the thing with me though too is I look at it as I would believe that if that was his last match ever, but he also went on. I think was he wrestled like I think it was like a month or so more after that. So I mean,
Yeah.
anything could have happened during those matches. Like any little
Well,
bump could have done that in
I
any other match
personally
you
don't
did.
think it
So
was a kick. I think it was when he got him in a figure four on the ring post. He hit his head on the floor. Did you ever see that? He hit his
I
head
think I
on the
did see
floor
that.
before the kick. So I think it was a combination, maybe both. And like I'm gonna stand up for myself. If I knew to get my hand up when I was down at the power plant. Because hell, if I got hurt, who's going? I mean, we had Pistol Pez Watley. He was mainly doing interviews and trying to do what he can at that particular moment in his life. So I took a lot of everything, and I'm not trying to put myself over. I'm sorry if I sound like that, but it's just I was fortunate to be in that spot at that particular time, and I ran with it. So that's what happened.
And especially leading up to your very last match, like you said, like Mike
I'm
Sanders
sure
actually has your
Jody
last
and
match.
Nick.
Like,
I'm sure Jody and Nick had a lot to do with it because I wrestled for them, and and then I started training Kevin Nash at their place, right? So and Elegante, uh, gosh, man, I remember him backing me into. We had a 16-foot ring then, and at the building we were in, when he suplexed me, my feet would brush the rafters going over. And once he done one, we did it 30 times, man. I was sore a couple of weeks after that. But yeah, see, there's another aspect that people don't know. So yeah, but I was
and
fortunate to be at the
obviously, I do
right
know.
place at the right time with the right people and stuff to put me in that position.
And I do know you said as well that you actually had like you love Eric Bischoff. Well, what was it like just working alongside Russo? Because I do know,
Uh,
obviously, when it comes to Vince Russo, it's a touch and go. And judging by the hot, I believe that is definitely the go side of
well,
things.
Vince always, I mean, Russo always filled me full of shit. Oh man, you're this and that, and we're gonna do something with you, and we're gonna do that and that, and nothing ever happened. And then who's gonna turn Bill Hill when he's the biggest babyface ever? Vince Russo. So I think that was a down point in our thing. I don't blame Vince Russo. I don't blame him. I don't appreciate the lies he told me. So, and he probably felt the same people were the same like Bill and stuff to try to turn him heel. But you know, did you see how long that lasted? It didn't last long. I promise you that.
I remember some of the matches he was making. I think he put a grandma on a scaffold match or something like that.
Oh,
That was painful for me to watch as
that
an
was the
ad for
worst
WCW.
ever. That was the
I
worst
think
ever,
honestly,
man.
Sarge, that's the only time I ever actually changed the station back in the day to WWF. I was like, I love WCW, but tonight I gotta jump ship for one night.
I
I
probably
can't
went
watch
over to
that.
football, to tell you the truth. Like right now, I'm pulling for Georgia, so um, we'll see how it goes.
But I have to ask because obviously in 2021, like you actually you did some work with GCW. But aside from that, like what is next for yourself, Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker? Like, are
Well,
you still are you gonna get back in the wrestling business a little bit, or are you just
well,
enjoying
yeah,
that well
and
deserved retirement?
I would like to run shows before shows. People want to be trained and learn the right way and how to get heat and how not to get heat. And if you're a big guy, you must blast the shit out of a small guy. You got to, or you look like shit. So, yeah, anybody that wants to bring me in before their matches and train their people before they go out, I did that kind of type of thing. I had 25 guys I trained, and they were using my stuff that I did when they actually had their matches. But I was going, watching their matches, going back, critiquing them, and telling them what I think, and then their own. But I seen them use a lot of my stuff and what I showed them 2 hours before. So that's a great venue. Anybody in the wrestling business who wants to get me, they can reach me by email. That's Sarge, Sarge, at 7381 at gmail.com.
And I just gotta say, first and foremost, Sarge, before we actually part ways here this evening, I gotta thank you, man, for years of dedication and hard work that you actually put in that wrestling ring, man. You gave fans like myself your blood, your sweat, your tears for so many years, and your contribution to training as well also gave us so many legendary wrestlers, like from Goldberg to Stacy Keibler, Chuck Palumbo, Paul Wright. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I could name them for years. So thank you so much, man, for
Thank
just
you.
your contribution to the wrestling, and of course,
I
just
appreciate your
making
contribution to wrestling. I appreciate your contribution to wrestling because you're like you bring old fart like me on uh, to tell my story. So then then people learns a little bit of history. See, I always taught my guys, okay, who's Gordon Soley? You know, who's this? Who's that? You know, because I wanted to teach them a history of wrestling, not just not just to wrestle. They got to learn to respect the business. I think they got to learn to respect the business, learn the history, and learn why they're there. So.
I definitely agree. I still got some old, and when I say some, I got a box of old WCW VHS tapes that I still go back and crack in the VHS player and kind of relive my days.
I got workouts. I got WCW power plant workouts on VHS from everybody.
Sweet. I got pay-per-views. I don't got the workouts, but I definitely got some old pay-per-views. I got Slamboree 98, 99, and a few other ones as well.
Well, I'm not going to do it unless I'm getting paid for it. I'm being selfish. I'm just joking.
Oh man, I don't blame you as well, especially those workout videos. I mean, at the end of the day, like nowadays, those are things people would pay good money for, honestly, because you know what I mean. The content is on those workout videos.
I had a guy called Mountain Man that I trained at WCW, and he's been trying to get me for years to post that online and see where it goes, but I haven't yet.
Hey, sometimes it's good to just have it for your own personal stuff as well. There,
I'll tell you personally, he does a lot for the homeless. Gosh, he gives so much, like I did. He gives so much back, and I'm just so proud to be his friend, and I'll do anything for him I could do. Anybody that went through the power plant or whatever. If anybody wants to bring me in to train people, I'll be glad to do that. If they don't want to, that's fine too. But I think I still got a lot to offer the sport as far as learning about the business, learning what draws, what don't draw, reason why to do something, reason why not to do something. There's a lot of aspects I still offer the sport.
And I definitely agree, Sarge. I really hope AEW gives you a call back and kind of gets you back in there to set something up, man. Because I really think just with your training, your knowledge, and your ability on just how you train these other individuals can really be a great asset to the next generation of generational talent.
Yeah, we got to pass it on, right? We got to pass it on. If we don't, who knows? We got to pass it on.
But definitely, Sarge, thank you so much again for your time. It was such an honor to speak with you. Hopefully down the line we can do this again. But for now, definitely have yourself a phenomenal weekend. And again, thank you so much for your contribution, man. Anything you need, we're definitely connected. So reach out and we can definitely make it happen, Sarge. Thank you so much again.
Will, sir. Thank you so very much. Thank you, audience. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.